Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down chapter 145, Inherited Will.
And that title could not be more fitting for what we just read. It's almost as if Oda is hanging a giant neon sign over this flashback, telling us, pay attention, this is what it's all about.
It's one of the absolute core pillars of the entire story, and it all gets laid out right here. Hiriluk stands in front of a firing squad, a whole army, and he doesn't flinch. He just smiles and tells the whole world, tells Wapol to his stupid face, exactly when a man truly dies. It's a moment that defines not just this arc, but echoes through everything that comes after.
It's a moment that redefines everything. If you're listening and you believe that stories, that legacies, that the ideas we pass on are what really matter, then you understand the heart of One Piece and you get what we're doing here. Consider following the show so you don't forget the will of this story as we carry it forward together.
Perfect. Let's get into it. The chapter kicks off right where we left off. Hiriluk has marched his way up to Drum Castle, this imposing, cold fortress at the top of the world.
He believes that Ishii 20, the kingdom's best doctors, are all deathly ill. He's the only one left, and he's come to save them. You can feel the desperation in his climb, the heavy breathing in the cold air. He thinks the fate of the nation's health rests on his shoulders.
And of course, the second he steps into the throne room, the doors slam shut with this heavy final thud. Wapol, Chess, Kuromarimo, they're all there, lounging, sneering. The Ishii 20 are standing behind them, perfectly healthy, holding rifles. The sound of dozens of rifle bolts clicking into place must have been deafening in that hall.
It was a trap, a lie broadcast across the entire island just to lure this one man to his death. And the look on Wapol's face is pure childish glee. He's so proud of himself for this masterful plan.
The sheer pettiness of Wapol is just staggering. It's on a level we haven't even seen before. Think about it. Arlong was driven by racial hatred and a twisted sense of superiority. Don Krieg was driven by a lust for power and conquest. Captain Kuro was driven by a desire to escape his past. They were villains, sure, but their motivations were grand in their own twisted way. Wapol? He mobilized his entire state apparatus, lied to his whole country, just to get one old guy who annoys him.
It speaks to an incredible insecurity. Hiriluk represents something Wapol can never have, the love of the people, not through fear or authority, but through genuine, albeit clumsy, effort. Wapol can't stand that this quack has more influence on the heart of the country than he does, so he has to eliminate him in the most public, humiliating way possible. He needs to prove that his power is absolute and that ideals like Hiriluk's are worthless.
And the Ishii 20 just stand there, the supposed best doctors in the country, and they're holding rifles instead of stethoscopes, complicit in this whole disgusting charade. They're the picture of what happens when you let a tyrant rule. You either fall in line or you get purged.
And Dalton is there, watching this all unfold. He looks horrified. He's the captain of the guard, a man who has clearly followed orders his whole life, but you can see the conflict raging in him. He asks Hiriluk why he came, why he would walk into such an obvious trap. He's almost begging for an explanation that makes sense in his soldier's mind.
And Hiriluk's reaction, this is the whole thing right here. This is the moment that turns the key for the entire arc. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't look betrayed. He doesn't curse Wapol. He just falls to his knees, tears of pure, unadulterated joy, and says, "Thank goodness, I was wrong."
He's just relieved, utterly and completely relieved that the doctors are safe, that the country hasn't lost its only medical hope. His own impending death is a complete non-factor in that moment. The trap, the humiliation, the guns pointed at him, none of it registers. The only thing that matters is that his country isn't sick.
He's thankful. In the face of his own death, the only thing he cares about is that the people of his country are okay. And you see Dalton's face just crack. This is the moment everything changes for him. He's served this monster Wapol his whole life, probably rationalizing it as duty to the crown, to the country. And in one instant, he's confronted with a man who embodies the spirit of the country more than the king ever could. He's never seen anything this noble, this pure.
It completely breaks his worldview. Wapol is laughing, pointing, calling Hiriluk a fool. What an idiot, he really came. But Dalton sees the truth. The room is filled with armed men, a king, and his cronies, all supposedly the most powerful people on the island. But the only one with any real strength, any real royalty, is the old man on his knees crying with relief. He sees a man with a king's heart, and it's not the one wearing the crown.
It's a perfect contrast. Wapol's power is external. It's his title, his army, his devil fruit. Hiriluk's power is internal. It's his will, his dream, his love for his people. And in this moment, everyone in that room, even the sniveling guards, can feel which one is more real.
It's the kind of moment that forces a person to choose a side. And we see Dalton make his choice, even if he doesn't move a muscle yet. His loyalty to Wapol dies right there on the floor of that throne room.
This is where it gets heavy. The soldiers all have their guns aimed at him, and Hiriluk just calmly gets to his feet. He tells them not to bother. He says with a sad little smile that a man like him can't be killed by a bullet.
He tells Wapol he won't die by his hand. He's going to die soon anyway. And then he just launches into it. The speech. The one that for me is just completely burned into my brain.
When do you think a man dies? When he's shot through the heart with a pistol? No. When he's ravaged by an incurable disease? No. When he drinks a soup made from a poisonous mushroom? No. And every single one of those lines is delivered with more conviction, more power than anything Wapol has ever said.
Let's break that down, because each one of those dismissals is so specific and so potent. When he's shot through the heart, that's the typical dramatic end for a hero or a martyr in most stories. Oda is saying that physical death, even a violent one, is not the true end.
When he's ravaged by an incurable disease, that's literally what's happening to Hiriluk. He knows he's on death's door. He's looking his own fatal illness in the face and saying, "You don't get to define my end." The sheer strength of will to deny the power of his own terminal condition is it's breathtaking.
And the last one, when he drinks a soup made from a poisonous mushroom, the weight of that line is immeasurable. He knows what Chopper did. He knows Chopper, in a desperate act of love, brought him what he thought was a cure, but was actually a deadly poison. And in his final moments, Hiriluk absolves him. He tells the entire world, and by extension Chopper, who isn't even there, that it wasn't the mushroom that killed him, that Chopper's act of love, however misguided, was not the cause of his death.
Oh, man, it's parental love in its purest form. He's protecting his son's heart from beyond the grave. He's taking that burden away from him before it can ever settle. And then he delivers the final line, the thesis statement for the entire series.
He lays it all out. A man dies when he is forgotten.
Chills. Every single time. It's not just a cool line. It's Gold Roger on the execution platform smiling because he knows his words will ignite a new age, and that his will, the pursuit of the One Piece, will live on. It's Odin in the boiling pot holding his retainers up, knowing that they will carry his dream of opening Wano's borders forward. It's this idea that you can kill a person, but you can't kill their dream. You can't kill their will if someone else is there to pick it up.
This is the core of what the poneglyphs represent for me. A history, a will that a powerful force tried to erase. They tried to kill the ancient kingdom by making the world forget it. But as long as the stones exist, as long as someone is there to read them and inherit that will, that kingdom is not truly dead. Hiriluk's speech is a microcosm of the entire central conflict of One Piece's deep lore.
And as he's saying this, as he's delivering this world-changing philosophy, he notices Dalton. The chief guard of the kingdom, this big, tough-looking dude, is just standing there, openly weeping for this fake doctor, this charlatan. And Hiriluk smiles. It's not a sad smile. It's a smile of understanding, of recognition.
He sees that his will has already been inherited. It's right there, in Dalton's tears. Someone understands. Someone gets it. That's all he needed to see.
He tells him he understands. He shares his pain for this sick country, but he says he's lived a good life. He's not afraid. And then he says his task is accomplished. He throws his arms wide open, a gesture of complete and total freedom.
The country will be cured. It's a promise, a prophecy. He knows he won't be the one to do it, but he knows his will, his dream for this place will be inherited by someone. He has planted the seed, and he has absolute faith that it will blossom.
He pulls out a little bottle, a drink to toast his own magnificent life, and then he just downs it. An instant later, there's this massive explosion.
A huge mushroom cloud, a callback to all his failed experiments. In the end, his explosive chemical mixture finally worked. He went on his own terms, with his own science. He turned the symbol of his failure into the instrument of his final victory. He denied Wapol the satisfaction of killing him. He chose his own end.
And Chopper gets there just a second too late. He's been running, scrambling up the side of the mountain, so desperate. He rounds the corner and all he sees is Hiriluk's hat, his tattered top hat with a little cross on it, just floating down to the snowy ground.
The only thing that's left of him. It's absolutely brutal. The paneling is perfect, the massive explosion, and then the quiet, gentle descent of the hat. It's like all the sound in the world gets sucked out for a moment.
The sound must have been deafening, but the silence in that moment is what kills you. Just Chopper there, this little reindeer boy, watching his whole world, his father, his hero disappear, except for that hat. It's the symbol of the legacy, falling from the heavens, waiting to be picked up.
And then Wapol, of course, because he is a creature of pure, undiluted awfulness, just ruins it. He starts laughing, a big, booming, ugly laugh at the sight of this man's explosive suicide. He thinks it's hilarious. He blew himself up. What a moron.
That's it. That's the trigger. That's the line you do not cross. Chopper just loses it. This sweet, timid little reindeer filled with so much grief and rage just transforms. He goes into one of his rumble ball forms. I think it's his arm point form here, and just charges straight for Wapol. He doesn't care about the guns, the soldiers, nothing. He's going to kill the man who laughed. It's pure, righteous fury.
The soldiers all panic. They don't see a grieving son. They see a monster. What is that thing? They call him a monster and aim their rifles at him, but Dalton steps in the way.
He puts himself right between Chopper and the firing squad. He literally shields him with his own body. He finally acts on the change that happened inside him. He knows Wapol is the real monster in that room, and this little reindeer is the most human person there besides himself.
And he tells Chopper to run. He begs him. He shouts, "He's a man who has already died once. Don't throw your life away for him." He understands Hiriluk's speech. He's telling Chopper that Hiriluk is already gone and that revenge won't bring him back. He says that Chopper can't even defend himself properly yet. He tells him not to end up as another sacrifice for this country.
He's saving Hiriluk's legacy. He understands in that moment that Chopper is the inherited will. Chopper is the one who has to carry the dream forward. If Chopper dies there, senselessly, in a blind rage, then Hiriluk's dream, his memory, dies with him. So Dalton makes the choice to protect it, even from Chopper's own grief.
Wapol is furious. He's absolutely livid. "Dalton, what are you doing? Kill the monster!" But Dalton just lets Chopper escape. He openly defies the king right to his face in front of the entire royal guard.
This is the point of no return for him. There's no talking his way out of this. Wapol threatens him, gets right in his face, and you can just see that the two of them are about to throw down right there in the castle. The tension is incredible.
But we cut away from that. The camera, in a sense, follows the most important thing in the scene, the inherited will. We follow Chopper, who makes his way over to Dr. Kureha's home.
He's holding Hiriluk's hat, clutching it to his chest like it's the only thing left in the world. But he's also carrying Hiriluk's flag. He plants it right in the snow outside her door, this defiant symbol in the middle of a frozen wasteland.
It's a declaration. He's not just mourning anymore. He's making a promise. The flag represents the dream, and by planting it, he's claiming that dream as his own. It's a beautiful piece of symbolism. The pirate flag, usually a symbol of rebellion and terror, is transformed by Hiriluk into a symbol of undying will and the fight against disease. Chopper is now raising that banner.
He goes to Kureha,
tears streaming down his face, snot running from his nose, a complete emotional wreck, and he gets on his knees and he begs her, "Please, teach me how to be a doctor."
And not just any doctor. He wants her to teach him so he can become a doctor, capable of curing every disease in the world. He wants to create a panacea.
He's taking Hiriluk's impossible, ridiculous, beautiful dream of a panacea and making it his own. He's going to become the cure for the country that Hiriluk couldn't save. It's so powerful. He channels every ounce of that pain, that grief, that rage into a purpose. He's not going to let that energy be destructive. He's going to forge it into something that can heal. That's the moment Tony Chopper, the doctor, is truly born.
Kureha, who always pretended to hate Hiriluk, who called him a quack and a menace, just looks at him. There's a long, silent panel, and you know she's going to do it. She sees the same fire in Chopper she saw in Hiriluk, but now it's tempered by a real goal. She understands the weight of what he's asking. She's accepting the burden of carrying on that will, too, by agreeing to be her teacher. She becomes the next link in the chain.
Then we snap back to the castle. The fight between Wapol and Dalton has already happened, and Dalton lost. He's on the ground, beaten, bloody.
Wapol is trying to negotiate with him, probably offering to let him live if he submits again, if he just gets back in line. He's saying something like, "If you still wish to serve this country, then serve me." It's his twisted way of seeing things. He and the country are one and the same.
But Dalton just refuses. Lying in a pool of his own blood, he says he won't stop until peace has returned to the country. The fire Hiriluk lit in him is still burning. Even defeated, he won't give in. He has found a cause worth dying for, and it's not Wapol.
Wapol, of course, laughs. He can't comprehend it. He calls him a fool, saying he's the most powerful person in the country, that nothing can stop him. He thinks he's won. He's gotten rid of Hiriluk. He's put Dalton back in his place. In his mind, the story's over.
And on that line, "There's no one in this country who can stand against me," the flashback ends. We smash cut to the present. Luffy's fist fills the entire frame as it connects directly with Wapol's jaw, sending ripples across his stupid metal face.
The timing is flawless. It's one of Oda's signature paneling techniques. A villain declares their invincibility, and in the very next moment, reality comes crashing into them in the form of a rubber fist.
Super! That's the punch we've been waiting for this entire flashback. Oda built up all this righteous fury, all this grief and injustice, and then pays it off with the most satisfying punch in the world. Luffy is hitting him for Chopper, for Hiriluk, for Dalton, for Kureha, for the entire island.
It's not just a random fight anymore. We understand the stakes. When Luffy first met Wapol, he was just some annoying guy who tried to eat the Mary. Now we see him for what he is. Luffy is literally punching a man who laughs at the death of a good person. He's fighting for the memory of a man he's never even met.
Because that's what Luffy does. That's his whole deal. He sees someone's pain, someone's dream being trampled on, and he makes it his own fight. He doesn't need a philosophical reason. He sees Chopper crying, he sees a bad guy laughing, and he acts. He's inheriting the will of Drum Kingdom right now, not by speech or by promise, but by action.
And that's the end of the chapter. Just a perfect, cathartic release of tension that has been building for pages and pages. It's a masterclass in emotional storytelling.
What a monster of a chapter. The emotional weight of Hiriluk's final moments is something that sticks with you forever. I swear, you could show that scene to someone who's never read One Piece, and they would get it. They would feel it.
It really is. It's one of the defining moments of the series. Oh, and before we forget, Oda's author comment this week was interesting. He said he went to Hiroyuki Takei's house, the creator of Shaman King, and there was an owl there that just kept glaring at him.
An owl? That's random. Maybe it knew he was about to write this chapter and was giving him a serious look of respect, like, you better do this justice, Oda. And he did, so the owl should be proud.
I think it was probably just an owl being an owl, but it's a funny mental image thinking of Oda trying to work while being stared down by a bird of prey. It adds a bit of levity after such an emotionally draining chapter.
That it is. Man, after a chapter like this, with so much heart and soul poured into it, it makes you want to talk about it. It's why we do this show. Some chapters are about cool fights, others are about world building, but this one is pure, uncut theme. It's the soul of the story.
It's the kind of chapter that leaves a mark. It's what makes Chopper's backstory so compelling. If you felt any of that while reading along with us, drop a comment and let us know what Hiriluk's speech meant to you. We'd love to read it.
Absolutely. Okay, predictions for chapter 146. What do you have? I'll go first. My first prediction, now that Luffy has landed the first big hit, a real hit, Wapol is going to get serious. We've seen him eat his subordinates and his cannons, but that was all offense. We're going to see him use his Munch Munch fruit in a defensive way. He's going to eat a bunch of cannons or castle walls and turn his own body into a fortress that Luffy has to figure out how to break. We'll get some kind of Wapol Factory, iron armor mode.
Okay, I can see that. A defensive application of his fruit makes sense. For my first one, I think we're going to cut back to Nami and Sanji inside the castle. With the fight raging outside, Kureha is going to tell Nami the full story of Hiriluk's research. She's going to reveal that the pink explosive powder wasn't a failed weapon. It was a failed attempt to create something that would make the cherry blossoms bloom even in the dead of winter. She'll explain his true, peaceful dream, which will give even more weight to Luffy's fight.
Oh, that would be beautiful. And it would recontextualize his entire life's work. It would mean that even his final explosive act of defiance was born from a desire to create beauty. Wow. Okay, my second prediction. We're going to see the full power of Chess Marimoto. Chess and Kura Marimoto are going to do their fusion again, maybe a more powerful version this time, and it's going to be up to Zoro to take them on. We haven't seen Zoro get a real fight yet on this island, and this feels like the perfect time for him to cut some ridiculous fusion man in half while muttering about how stupid it is.
That feels right. Zoro needs his moment. My second prediction, then, builds on your first. I think Wapol, in a moment of desperation against Luffy, will try to eat the drum castle itself. He'll start chomping on the main tower, trying to absorb its structure and become a giant castle monster. His ultimate act of consumption, consuming the very symbol of his own rule. This will force Luffy to not just beat him, but to physically destroy the symbol of his tyrannical rule in the process. He'll have to knock the whole tower down to take Wapol out.
Bro, a castle man Wapol? A giant walking fortress for Luffy to smash? That is a super Oda idea. I love that. It's so literal and so goofy and so awesome all at the same time. Luffy versus a castle. Sign me up. All right, those are our predictions.
We'll see next time if any of them come to pass. This fight feels like it's going to be one of the ages, purely based on the emotional stakes.
You got that right. Join us next time as we dive into chapter 146. Until then, remember what the good doctor said.
A story only dies when it's forgotten. Thanks for listening.